I know you guys are sick and tired of hearing me talk about the importance of having a good website for your business, but that is today's topic. Now, another surprise. Today, I am interviewing Kate Hejde of Dear Kate Brand Strategy. And the funny thing is, guys, this is my in real life bestie. We have known each other for over a decade. Our children are friends. We live 20 minutes apart on a good day. But Kate, hello, and finally
Hello.
welcome to the Business First Creatives podcast.
Yay, I'm so excited to be here. Thanks, Colie, for having me.
Okay, so we are really going to try hard today, guys, not to get off topic, but I know that we will, so it's okay. Kate, why don't you tell the listening audience how we know each other? Because I feel like every time someone's like, oh my God, you're best friends in real life, I feel like it should come with an explanation.
It's a kind of funny thing because we've known each other since the days of old message boards before Facebook groups. And we met each other in a photography group when you were looking for a maternity model and I was pregnant with my second baby. And then it turned out that our daughters are really close in age and we really hit it off and have had a long friendship since. We're conference buddies. We travel a lot together. And it's been really fun growing businesses alongside of you.
Yes, I can't agree more. And yes, guys, our daughters are a little bit less than 3 months apart. So we are both dealing with 13-year-old girls. Everyone should have pity on us, don't you think?
It's a little scary. We had a scary night last night.
Well, I feel like in this household, it's like a switch has flipped. Oh, by the way, your little friend Chloe was cussing in the car yesterday with me, James, and mom, all of us in there. And then she tried to say, I didn't say shit. And we just looked at her like all three of us heard you say this. This is insanity.
Yeah.
So, yes, guys, Kate was my very first maternity model. When people ask me how I started my business and how I managed to grow and thrive it, I'm always like, well, what happened was I had a few really good models in the beginning and I just marketed the shit out of those photos because for Kate, I made a Fresh 48 video. And I tell you guys, I made this video, I put it up online, and granted, Kate shared it. I mean, that was a big part of it. But literally everyone who watched the video would contact me and be like, okay, I saw this video that you made at Poudre Valley Hospital, and I want that. Can you do that for me? And I was like, sure.
Do you
I
know
sure can.
I still get hits on old blog posts that have your photos in them?
I mean, that's true. It's a funny story. And hey, let's tell this story before we kick off talking about websites. So, guys, one of the things that people always ask me is, well, I'm doing this new thing or I have a new style. And so I have all these blog posts. What should I do with them? And so I tell the story of what I did with Kate's blog post. Because again, guys, she was a maternity model for me outside at a lake. Who here thinks I would still let those images be on my website? I don't do outside. I don't do any of that. But Kate's original blog post had probably 30 images in it because that was when people were telling you, you practically throw an entire session worth of images in one blog post. That is no longer the thing. Words count more than images now, guys. But anyways, I'm digressing. So her original blog post was outside with 30 images by a lake. And plus, my editing style back then was really contrasty and with a lot of matte. I mean, it's way different than it is now. But her blog post for Longmont Maternity Photographer has continued to get, I don't think it's getting hundreds every month now, but for a while it was getting hundreds of hits a month. And I was like, okay, but I don't want someone to see that blog post and expect me to take them to McIntosh Lake outside and take photos. So what I ended up doing was taking every single image off. I chose my 5 favorites. I re-edited them in my current style. And then the rest of the blog post was about Fresh 48s. They came for the maternity, but hopefully you'll stay for the newborn, right?
Yeah.
So that is how I took a very old and outdated piece of content and made it new so that when people came on that blog post, they were actually seeing what I wanted them to see, which was either in-home newborn sessions or Fresh 48s.
I love that. That's such a good idea.
So let's talk about websites.
Yes.
So my friend Kate has done lots of things, guys. She has a studio where she does pose newborns. She dabbled in brand photography, but now she has landed on what is the new love of her life, websites. So Kate, tell me how that came about.
Well, I was kind of getting out of shooting all of the time. I love photography, but I am a person whose business has to fit her life, not the other way around. And it's vitally important for me that whatever I do fits our family schedule. When I dabbled in senior photography, I loved shooting the seniors, but I was doing in-person sales and I hated the schedule that came with that. And that really opened up my eyes to the fact that whatever I do in business has to fit with our schedule and our family life first, and then kind of be something that I'm passionate about as well. So pandemic comes around, I was kind of pivoting into teaching. I was teaching how I left in-person sales and started doing soft proofing. And so I was building another website for that on Showit. And I was getting so frustrated because I knew all of the steps. Like, I knew what needed to be done. I know how to make a website. I've used Showit before. I was using it again. And I was getting really frustrated that I didn't have someone to like guide me through it. And with that, you know what they say is like, find the thing that's missing and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'm at now. So I love websites. I love designing websites. I love the strategy and like the theory and the marketing behind websites. And so now I help other small business owners, creatives build their own websites.
I mean, the fact that you can have people that are coming to you and are asking you very specific questions and you can answer it, because I've always joked around, like, if I could just get someone like in a company, I guess, to pay me to answer their clients' questions, I would hop on that in a minute.
Right.
I literally just want to answer people's questions. Like, you have questions, just hop in, just ask them. I will answer them and I will move on. Because I think that you and I agree, the thing about doing the fully done for you services, like a fully done for you Dubsado or HoneyBook setup or creating a website, is that it takes so long and it takes so much of your brain to do like the entire process. But I mean, that's why I love my course. I love giving my students the pieces that they need.
Yeah.
And then you come to me when you get stuck. And then I can help you get unstuck very quickly. But I'm not responsible for building your entire system from beginning to end in that kind of situation.
I just think that, especially like with small business owners like us, you have to be able to make changes on the fly. And there are things that you need to
Mhm.
know about your website and your business that you can learn from doing it yourself.
DIYing your website is such a hard and daunting thing for most people, but I know that you can help people and make it easy. But let's say that someone has realized that their website is like really old and needs to be refreshed. What is the first thing that you suggest that everyone do when they are starting out to refresh their website?
Well, first, I would say I have a website report card that helps you grade your current website. It gives you an overview of like exactly what's hitting and what's missing, and kind of gives you a guide of like what you need to have on the new site as well, because you're seeing like, oh, I'm missing this, I need that. And that helps too. The next thing I would say is that copy always comes first for me when it comes to website design. The words are the most important thing. The design is dictated by the copy. So figuring out who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them differently than other people is going to be critical. That's the brand strategy part of things, figuring out what your messaging is going to be and then how you want to explain that would be my first steps. I, in my course, have outlines and templates and frameworks for every page of your website. I also have free resources on that about what goes on each page of your website to help you kind of figure out like what pages you need. I think that a lot of the time we get caught up in like, okay, I bought a template and the template has this space for this copy and this space for this copy, and I need a portfolio page and I need this page and a testimonials page. And honestly, that's not really how your website should look in the end. Like, that's not how people are working through a website. They're not going to your website and saying, oh, let me look at her testimonials. No one's looking at that page, right? Like, That drives me nuts. And the portfolio page too, I feel like if they do click to that website or that page, then they're just seeing a bunch of pictures. There's no information. Google's not finding that page because there's no words. So I do have quite a few like pet peeves about website pages. After doing this for like over a year now, I've been working up with websites, like really figuring out one, what's working and what's not working on your current website, and then two, what that messaging and strategy needs to be going forward.
I mean, I almost feel like when I was coaching students, photographers with their business, I was not a website guru. Let me put it to you that way. I'm like Kate, I have a lot of very strong opinions. And I think that having a super strong services page is something that most people overlook because they are really caught up in, oh my gosh, well, I need a pricing or investment page, and I need a portfolio page, and I need, the testimonial page, as you said. But if you build a really strong services page, you can actually incorporate pieces from all three of those in one
Yep,
page. And
exactly.
then you can really work on the SEO for like that kind of service.
Yes.
Because, like, I mean, I do newborns and I do families and I do some other stuff, but they don't get services pages.
Yeah.
Like, those are my two main services pages. And if I can create one for newborns that's talking about, your children are not little forever, and a bunch of really powerful things that pushes someone to hire me for a newborn, that can be a very different way of talking than I do on the family page. But each of those can have the portfolio images. Each of those can have really great headlines. They can have social proof, testimonials from clients that hired me for either one. So is that a page that you cover in your course, by the way, like a services
It
page?
absolutely is.
Okay.
I'm very much push for services pages, either for individual services or like a work with me page. If you have multiple services that kind of fit the same audience, the same target person, then we can put them all on one page. But when you have like newborn photography and family photography, you're talking to two different people. So having a way to talk to them individually and giving them all of the information they need and less friction, getting to that like contact form is super critical, I think, in a website design.
And I think one of the other things, I was on a podcast interview. I apologize for whoever it is that I was interviewing. I can't remember which one it was, but we were having a conversation about sales pages. And I just brought up, I'm like, well, that's one of my pet peeves with photographers. I was like, they completely ignore sales pages because number one, they hate to seem salesy.
Yep.
And number two, they just think that doesn't apply to their kind of business. And I'm like, no, like you can take the outline of a really great sales page and that should be your backbone for your services page.
Yep.
And they're like, well, no, I have a portfolio. I'm like, yeah, but you don't need a portfolio.
No, it needs to work together. Like it's a marriage between the words and the images, and showing your work and telling your work and explaining who you are and how you help people through both the words and the images is critical. And when you separate them by doing like a portfolio page and investment page, one, that investment page just has a bunch of words and numbers. No one wants to read that. No one wants to look at that. And it like overwhelms people and they think it doesn't show the value of what you're offering at the same time as you're introducing the price. So having the services pages really brings both of those things together, like the messaging and the imagery, and sells it. As much as you don't want to be salesy, you don't have to be. Your website is selling for you.
Yes. I mean, and when it comes to, I always laugh. I mean, I laugh hysterically at people. So if you were one of those people, I apologize in advance. I really crack up at people who insist on having an investment page and there's actually no pricing.
Yes.
Like It's like a whole page talking about what I will do for you. And then in the end, it's like, fill out this contact form to get pricing.
Yep.
Like I definitely don't think that you should have a pricing page if you are not actually communicating your pricing.
Yes.
I mean,
sure.
Starting prices, okay, but like you're not giving them anything and you had them click on this page for nothing. That is going to bring frustration. That is going to have someone clicking off of your website and saying, okay, next.
Yep, absolutely. And I think speaking of pricing pages and investment pages, one, I hate the word investment. No one is Googling what's the investment for newborn photography, what's the investment for a realtor. They're looking up pricing, like how much does it cost? So using those cost and price on your website is going to help Google serve your result to people that are looking for that question. And then having something, I think, is really important. Having starting prices, having some kind of information about like, yeah, how much is this going to cost me? because it helps weed out the people who, one, can't afford it or think you're out of their budget automatically. And then two, it helps anchor people who aren't sure how much things are going to cost. It gives them like a vague idea to get them started. And it tells them like, oh, for this level of service, this is how much it's going to be, to just know and then to want to contact you. I think a lot of the times people will look at something, and if it says, like, think about like you're going to a steak restaurant and like that filet mignon says MP next to it, right? Market price. Are you going to order that? Are you going to ask how much it costs? Probably not if you have any kind of a budget in your mind. Even if you maybe could afford it, it just like feels daunting, I think, to ask that price. So not having any kind of pricing on your website, I feel, is like putting that market price, market value on your menu.
Well, and also making sure that you are not hiding your prices, because it's one thing for you to leave a starting price. It's one thing for you to have it on the website. But guys, if you are getting too many people who are contacting you and being like, oh, you're out of budget. Oh, you're out of budget. I mean, I don't want people to get on the phone with me if I'm completely out of budget with them. And so even if you have that price on your services page, the one thing that I've started doing, and I mean, I guess this is related to Dubsado. I'm sorry, we had to talk about it at some point. On your contact page, I actually have above the form, these are the starting prices. And then also when people are inquiring about my Dubsado setup services, when you click the drop down in the contact form, it actually lists each service and it gives the price.
That's nice.
Because when you're charging $5,000, you want to make sure that someone knows it's $5,000 before they get on the phone with you. Otherwise, all I'm going to hear is, oh, that sounds great, but you're just too expensive.
Yep.
Okay, but did you not know I was too expensive before we got on the phone? No? Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Having it multiple places is smart, but at the very least, having it somewhere along with what it is that you offer and who it is that you serve is really critical to getting the right inquiries, getting good inquiries, and not just like, how much?
I mean, that is true, because how many of us have gotten those inquiries where in our questions box, it's just how much do you cost?
Yep.
Well, I'm sorry. Let me refer you back to the page that you completely skipped over, where it said my session fee is $350 and my digital collections start at $750. I mean, if you want additional information, I'm happy to share that with you.
Right.
But you could have found that in like 5 different places on my website. So yeah, that just means that you didn't even take the time to go through my website, which to me, someone who offers photography, who, I mean, it's not very different from everyone now. I will be the first to admit that. But for the longest, my photography was very different. I wanted to make sure that you saw my work, that you knew I was not going to come into your house and pose you to look perfect and get, that Christmas card or that one for the wall where everybody's staring at the camera and smiling. Like, I don't do that.
Yeah.
It's nowhere on my website. So if you've done a good job of looking through my website, then you know what to expect. But let's talk about your homepage.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we've talked about your services page, which I think is like that hidden gem. It's the thing that people should spend the most time on that they don't.
Yep.
But like, what makes a really good homepage? Like, what are the must-haves for your homepage?
So simply, like the most simple thing is your location. If you're a location-based business, that needs to be on every page of your website. And it's like, God, if I click to someone's website and I can't tell where they're located, that drives me totally bonkers. But having some kind of core message and explanation of who you are and what you do, who you do it for, needs to be like above the fold at the top of the page. It needs to be like blam. I need to be able to land on that site and know those 3 things, right? I need to understand if I'm in the right place. And I need to understand if you understand me.
Kate, what if I travel? That's what I always come back with.
And
that's what people tell me. And I'm like, no, I'm a traveling photographer. And in my footer, it still says I service Denver, Colorado, Dallas, Texas, and anywhere that planes will fly. So I've told you where I'm located.
Yep.
I've also told you that I travel, and that is available everywhere on my website.
Yeah.
Because when it comes to photography, like, Pinterest, this is not even a website topic, but Pinterest. Like, you get so many hits from Pinterest, especially since my most viral posts are Fresh 48 posts. But like, I'm not photographing your baby in a hospital if you are not, located inside Denver, or the occasional Dallas client. But I mean, still, I think it's very important for you to know when you land on my website, I am not located in Milwaukee. No, I will not come photograph your Fresh 48.
Well, and like even if you're not a local service provider, I think it's important to have your location somewhere on your website. Multiple places preferably, because Google is going to pull results for the service that's closest, even if it doesn't matter. So say somebody's hiring me to build their website, I don't need to be in the same city as them. But if my location's on my website and someone Googles website designer, it's going to pull the locations or like the websites that are closest to them first, the results that are closest to them, regardless of if it matters or not, that they can be served locally. So having that is important, even if you just have a time zone or like give people an idea of where you are in the world. I think it's important.
I mean, yeah, because how many times, I mean, even for business coaches, guys, like it's not that I wouldn't hire a business coach that lives on the other side of the world, but it does make scheduling phone calls incredibly difficult
Yes.
if, they're always sleeping when you're awake and vice versa and all that good jazz.
Not like
Okay,
we've
so
ever done
location.
that, right, Colie?
I mean, sometimes I'm up at 3 a.m.
Yep.
for business calls from Australia.
Yep.
But you want to know that going forward or up front before you get too invested.
Yeah.
All right. What else goes on your homepage? Location? What
So
else?
location, who you are, what you do and who you do it for. Mostly you want to target like at the beginning, you need to talk about like how you understand where they're at right now. You would need to talk about that client's pain points or like what brought them to you. I know in photography, especially, like I'm talking about photography a lot. I help people in all different businesses, but I have a lot of experience in photography, obviously, and I know you do too. Like you feel like there's no pain point, right? Like what? Oh,
there is a pain point.
They're going to forget or they're not going to remember what they look like or they're not going to be in pictures. And yes, like that is a pain point, but it's the same pain point everyone else is using. How do you make it different? So like with my photography website specifically, I talked about how my sessions are relaxed and fun, and you're not there for like everyone's perfect hair in place images. I talk about it's not the highlight reel. I talk about like the Instagram worthy photos. I talk about all of those things, but I make sure to focus it on like what I most want to do and how I most want to help people in my messaging. Then next on my homepage, it goes into the different services that I offer. And there's 3 buttons that lead them to those 3 services pages. Yep. And then I talk about who I am. I also have testimonials sprinkled throughout all of these pages. Every page of my website has testimonials on it. That also helps Google. I was working with a client just yesterday whose website is up, but like not complete yet. So she hasn't gone in and done all of the SEO things. And what Google pulled for her meta descriptions were testimonials.
Nice.
Yeah. So, it's interesting to see how much Google values that, and how much people that are reading your site value it. They need to see like Kate did this, and this, so that they know that that's what they're getting to. So homepage is really about nailing in that overarching messaging and overall strategy of your brand. I think even if you service multiple different types of people, there's got to be some common thread in the why of what you do and the how you do it.
Yes, absolutely. And then like the homepage, I mean, they say when they land on your website, you've got 30 seconds, which I think it's less than 30 seconds now, but whatever. They land on your website and they almost make an instant decision as to whether or not they are in the right place. Yeah. And so all those things that Kate just listed are things that are going to help you communicate to the people who are visiting your website that they are in fact in the right place for what they're looking for. And if they're not, bye.
Right.
It's okay.
Right. Absolutely. You don't want them there if they're not the right fit, because then you're going to be getting those how much inquiries. Yeah. You want the ones that say, hey, I saw your work and I love it and I really want to work with you and my baby is due. And, you want them to restate what you said on your website back to you in the inquiry. And that is the best feeling in the world, I feel like, when you both understand each other and you both have the same common goal.
that you've gotten to the right people and that they've understood what you said to them.
Yes.
I mean, it's funny. This has nothing to do with the website, but like contracts. I was working with someone the other day that like read my contract and sent me back questions. And I'm like, no, I love it when people read my contract because it means that they're really invested in working with me. It means that they're really making sure that I'm a good fit. And I feel like the same is true of your website.
Yes.
Like they're reading your headlines. The perfect person for you is going to read the headlines. They are going to remember the pictures that spoke to them. And when they inquire, they are going to lead with either flattering you or just, again, telling you what they found on your website most compelling.
Yes.
Before they get to the questions.
Yeah.
I mean, those people might still ask you how much.
Right.
But there is a difference between someone saying, how much are your services? Or someone saying, oh my God, like I love that photo of all of the siblings on the bed in the hospital. That's so sweet. I'm having a baby, blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping that you're in my budget.
Yes.
Can we discuss pricing?
Yes.
Like that's a very different conversation.
It is, absolutely. And I think that, you know, when I'm saying that how much email, like that's all that email says. And those are people who
in
just
capital letters. Have you ever gotten one of those?
Yes. So many times before I really nailed down my messaging on my website, that's what I would get. And then, you know what? That's a dead end, like every time. Like if I'm getting a how much email, I probably won't even bother responding, or I'll just let my autoresponder from my Dubsado automation take care of it. Yes, exactly. So I think having all of those touch points with people and explaining who you are and what you do and how you can help them creates a better business for you. And it leads to that being able to work with the people you want to work with and have that joy in your life and have your business fit your life.
Yeah.
Just
I think we've got like 2 more pages to talk about. I feel like I hear you like screaming about this next one over and over again. So guys, I apologize in advance if she gets up on her high horse. Let's talk about the About Me page.
I knew that was what you're going to say.
Okay.
So your About page is typically the second page that people click to when they land on your website. Like they land on your website, the first link they're going to click is About. Mm-hmm. More than 50% of people click About. You talk to people and they're like, I never look at an About page, but it's like statistically, that's what people are looking at. And then like if you actually watch your behavior when you're scrolling a website, you're going to click to that About page. Mm-hmm. So when you land on that About page, do you want to read, hi, I'm Colie. I like Disneyland and want and I love capturing photos of your family. And, you know, like, do you care? You have to give somebody a reason to care before you get to that part. There's the idea of the know, like, and trust factor. And I feel like we've got the order of those wrong. We have to get them to trust us before they can get to know us and like us.
Okay.
And how we get them to trust us is to show them that we understand where they are and what their problems and feelings are right now and how we can solve that. So take the opportunity of your About page and do that. We're skipping out on an opportunity when all we put is like, I like iced coffee and sunny days. We like to play by the river. I know I've got my iced coffee here too. but that's like skipping straight to like, let's go on a date versus like, I'm not a creeper. I know who you are and I know what you need, which is a much better introduction to somebody.
And granted, again, we know this audience is not just photographers. But the one thing that I tell all photographers is number one, if you have not hired someone to photograph your own family, like you need to hit pause, you need to go find someone to hire because there is so much that you can learn from being on the other side of the lens. But I also say that there's incredible value in having professional photography on your About Me page.
Yes, absolutely.
Because when someone gets there, like, for instance, we were talking about pain points before and how everybody has the same pain points. But for me, it's you are probably the person who takes all the photos in your family. And don't you want to be in some that are not taken at the selfie angle?
Yeah.
And so I'm showing all of the people that I've hired to take photos of me so that they can see that I put my money where my mouth is.
Right.
I go on vacation. I hire someone to take photos of us at the beach. And also I've had 2 Disneyland sessions. I'm in desperate need of a third one, but hey, I mean, but also when you were talking about like tying who you are to what you do. Like, I rarely mention Disneyland without telling people the only reason that I can ride on Dumbo is because Dubsado is taking care of my inquiries.
Yeah.
Dubsado is sending out the communications. It's making sure that all of the things are getting done in my business while I'm hanging out at Disneyland with my daughter. So yes, I talk about Disneyland, but I also talk about how they can go spend time wherever it is that they love if they have good systems and automations in the background.
Well, and I think it's okay to also have those selfie photos in there too. I think it's relatable and it creates that like and trust, or the know and like factor. But it goes further down on your page.
Yeah.
It's trust, then like, then no, almost. Like, it's just not the order that we say it in. And I think you have to be really clear on, why it matters to them that you like iced coffee. Like, like you're saying with Disneyland, it has to matter to them why Disneyland's important to you. And sometimes it's just like a way to relate to people, and that's totally fine too. Like, there's fun ways to add just that personality factor. And I think personality throughout your site is important, throughout your copy. And I think having thinking through how you actually talk and using your voice throughout your website gets them to that about page, gets them to know you a little bit. And then you can throw in the I like iced coffee and sunny days, and you'll find us by the river,
Okay, you said that, and for some reason in my head I heard Olaf saying, I like warm hugs.
Warm hugs. Well, I was thinking about the man down by the river living in a van, Chris Farley. But really, my family, I do have stuff on my website, on my photography business website, about our family loving to go play by the river. And I do river photography too. So it's tied in there.
So it's tied. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the About Me page, and I'm so happy that you brought up the whole voice thing, because in the month of August, I had an entire series on brand and marketing and all of these things. And the one thing that you have to be in your business, everywhere on your website and your social media, if we're being honest, is authentic, but that word gets overused.
Yeah.
So in other words, let's just say you should be yourself.
Yeah.
The same person that they meet on your website should be the same person that they have a consultation call with, should be the same person who shows up at their house or outside at the river to take photographs or to design a website or whatever it is that your service does. But your website is just one more way to get them to get to know you. And you can't do that if your brand voice is different than your voice.
Yes, absolutely. And I speaking of social media, I think that we rely on it so much to drive traffic to our business. When we have this website, if it's a good website, Google's sending you traffic, and they're sending the right people, not just broadcasting into a sea of people like you are on social media. Google's helping you refine who's coming to your site if you're doing a good job of speaking to them.
Yes. I mean, search engines. So it's funny because you and I know you use the TikTok. I don't use the TikTok. I can't get behind using TikTok as a search engine. But when you think about it in that way, people are not typically going to Instagram to search for their photographer.
Right.
They may find your work through someone else or through that main page. See, the Explorer page. I couldn't even think what the name of it is. Yeah, I mean, you could. But when it comes to your website and your SEO and using Google as an actual search engine, those people are kind of opting in with their hand saying, I am looking for a photographer or whatever your service is in this area to do this for me.
Yep.
And Google is trying its damnedest to match you with websites that it thinks fits the bill. And so you really need to make sure that your website is up to snuff, or that it fits the bill, so that when they land on it, they're instantly like, oh my gosh, Google did such a good job. This is exactly what I was looking for.
Right. And then you also have to be really strategic in your website, that you're leading people through the pages and the information that they need. And that goes back to that, having a pricing page and a portfolio page and a reviews page. People don't want to click all of that.
Which one should they go to first anyways? If you have those, how do you make them do one first?
Right. And it's overwhelming. And I think a lot of the time that when you build your own website, you get that template, You like look at somebody else's website and try to guess like what needs to be on there. Or you write down all of the information and then you try to like puzzle piece stick it in where it fits in their template. And it doesn't always make sense. And you're not walking people through like a sales process, a buying process to get from like interest to inquiry to booked. So,
because I mean, we're doing that on social media. Like, we're hoping that by posting our carousel or our reel, that you have a really good call to action, that you are sending them to your links page or your profile or whatever it is. And you're hoping that they're going to click on there. And then you're really hoping that they go to your website. I don't think many people are just throwing up a contact form directly in their Instagram links and being like, contact me. I mean, granted, you might get some people that way, but more often than not, you will not. But you've mentioned this a few times. And so I think that this is something that we should really chat about. How does someone find a good template for them? Because I feel like people will probably be searching for like one that is aesthetically pleasing. But the thing is, like, colors can be changed, fonts can be changed. Your images and words are going to replace whatever is in a placeholder for the template. But so, like, and I feel like maybe that's a piece of education that's really missing. I would love to see a freebie on how you choose a template. Hey, Kate.
Yeah, I actually have one that I just never finished or never published. It's part of my course, how to choose a template. But mostly it's an interesting thing because templates, especially for Showit, that's the platform that I work in, range from like you can get a $200 template to a $2,000 template.
Yes.
And the difference is going to be the number of pages and canvases included, which is huge. When you have more like pieces to work with, it makes everything much easier. Some template designers will include like education on how to like put things in, how to get started. But then like the more basic templates they're really simple and like they're not going to be as easy to customize because there's fewer things to customize and change. The thing about Showit is that you can design anything in Showit. It's drag and drop. It's really easy to do. So if I buy a template and I want like the picture on this side versus that side, I can easily swap that. Yeah, like I can just move it, right? But I think a lot of the times the templates come with just not enough base for those lower price templates. The other thing that I'm looking at when I'm looking at templates is more like the design elements versus the colors and the fonts. So like the Monstera template that's part of Showit has,
and that's free.
Yep, it's free. Has those like lines, like the color block lines behind some of the text. And that's a design element that flows throughout the site. Or like some templates have like blocks of color behind an image, or like there's just like little design elements that flow throughout a site. And I think that's more of what you want to look for, what catches your eye that way. Again, fonts and colors can be changed in like literally 5 minutes. Like it's so easy to do in Showit. You go into your design settings, you change the colors, it changes it throughout the site.
Everywhere.
So super simple to do that. So that's not what you're looking at when you're looking at a template. You're looking more at like how many pages are there? How robust is it? Does it have specialty elements for like your blog posts? On your website and on my website, we have podcast feeds. Yep. And feeds where like we're using some like more advanced techniques to pull blog post titles into that feed. So like there's some little things like that are worth it for the more expensive template because it's going to save you time.
Yes, absolutely. And I would just say one of the other things, because just in case you guys don't know, like Emma Troy is the template that my ColieJames.com website is built on. But I have like 2 extra of her templates. I just love the way that she designs things. But I mean, there are some things that I don't like. Like she uses a lot of curves and I'm just not like a round person when it comes to like the shapes.
Right.
But like the other thing that I like to look at is like the spacing.
Yes.
Because I have finally figured out I do not like templates that look cluttered. I do not like them where they don't have enough like white space or blank space so that I can, not feel like I have to read every line so carefully and I get lost when I'm reading. So the other thing that I will say about getting a template is if you're a photographer, even though you can buy a template from anyone, it might be easier if you are looking for a template that was made for a photographer,
Yeah.
because they might already have that services page that Kate and I were talking about that's very nicely laid out with, the space for the testimonials and the actual work and the portfolio. And maybe they have like sliders built in. I mean, there's a lot of things that can help photographers display their work. And the same is true of like a business coach, because like you and I both have podcasts.
Yep.
I don't think that I would buy a template at this point that did not already come with a podcast page.
Right.
Because I don't want to build that from scratch.
Right.
Like if you're giving me all of the other things, I want to make sure that I can get a podcast page. Now I'm redoing my template shop and I'm really regretting buying a template that didn't have a shop template page, because I had to create it from scratch.
Yeah.
Which, I love making websites, but like that was time that I didn't have that I wish I could get back. But
well, and the magic too of Showit is that you could probably find a shop page standalone. Yep. That you can plug into your template, like that you can plug into your site and adjust to match the rest of your template.
I did what you said. I found a template, but then when it came to it, I only really wanted, I think it was 2 canvases from that page. And I moved it over to the page that I was already creating. And then I basically looked at their product page as like a template for how to design my own.
Yes.
And I ended up doing it because I was being too picky. I mean, I realized this, but it's okay because I love the way that it looks and I'm very happy. But it took me a little while. But again, Showit is easy once you figure out,
right,
where you're going with it.
Well, and that's like the beauty of the course that I offer is that I'm here to help you figure out all of those little things. And if there's something like you're building and you want this, like I had a client who wanted a video slider and that wasn't part of her very expensive template. So she wanted...
You can make a video slider?
So she wanted a section.
I'm like, okay, Kate and I are going to discuss this when we stop hitting record.
So she wanted a canvas where there could be a video. And then she wanted them to like be able to click to the next video. So I created it for her on my end and just shared the canvas with her. So she didn't have to go through that. So there's some like benefit to having a designer help you work through those things. And, like a lot of it is you're looking at a ton of different websites and there's going to be things that you want to pull from each one. And having that option in Showit is amazing. You can even I use the free Showit library to pull canvases for projects all the time. Like there's this one canvas that I like from this website that is not included in mine. I can pull that canvas, just that one canvas, and use it in my project. So there's benefits to templates. They do make things faster. Back to the photographers. When you're shopping for a template for a photographer, you're going to find a lot of website designers who don't necessarily know exactly what a photographer needs. And they're going to give you those portfolio pages. And honestly, Showit requires designers to include a portfolio page.
I did not know that.
It's part of the design standards for like the Showit design partners is to have a portfolio page. So you're going to see a lot of portfolio pages in templates. That doesn't mean you have to use it. Doesn't mean that you should use it.
All right, Kate, I think that we've had an amazing conversation.
Yes.
If people want to hear more about you, I mean, guys, you can find her on my feed, on my Instagram, when we actually have time to get lunch together. But anyways, if they want to find you on the internet, where can they find you?
I'm at Dear Kate Brand Strategy, DEAR, Kate Brand Strategy on Instagram, on TikTok. My website's Dear Kate Brand Strategy. I will also give Colie links to my free website report card. And I also have a free Showit template for your about page. It gives you my framework for your about page as well, and like a copy template. So it makes doing your about page a lot easier. And I will give you links for those. I would love to see you in my DMs. Come talk to me.
I thought she meant she would love to see me.
Yeah, I'd love to see you too.
Yeah. I mean, it's been like 3 weeks?
It's been a while. Well, we went to that conference together.
We did. That was like 3 weeks ago, Kate. All right, y'all. That is it for this episode. See you next time.
Thank you.